Hi guys, we'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. This video I'm going to be working on the Druid, and this is actually one that I did. I did the sketching on my phone, my Galaxy Note 8, and I just used Autodesk Sketchbook, but then did the same process as normal. I brought it into Paint.net. And you can see here on the screen, this is just how I've got it set up, and I just started doing the line arc. So we're gonna finish this up in this stream. So let me just make sure everything's working right. Okay, that's me. That's the screen. There it is. There is the screen. Okay. And we will talk through this behind the scenes process. This illustration. So the Druid is actually, it was one of the last ones that I added to the game, but it's really one of my favorites. The Druid cannot wear armor, and she only has, or he, I'll have probably two versions of all of the characters. They will only have like 7 hit points. I think it's 7. So they're very weak, but what they do, they have a ability called Wild Call, and what they can do is summon a beast that has been defeated and use their attack and their hit points essentially as a shield and a weapon for future battles. So essentially not taking any damage, and they can do it multiple times. They can have a max of 2 at the same time, so they could actually have two beasts that can both attack and sustain damage, so the Druid does not take any. So that is their armor. They use beasts and their knowledge of nature. I wanted these to kind of look like dread locks. Okay, and there's some beads in here. And of course I'm over-exaggerating a lot of these details because it's going to be so small on the card. And again, just using my single round 8-pixel brush to do all the line work, and I go in and kind of fill in little shadows to sort of simulate depth. But what I'm going to try to do is, without sacrificing quality, get through this line work as quick as I can and get into the coloring. I love doing the coloring. All right, she's got kind of like this fur cloak, and I just do it like this. It's very maybe somewhat cartoony. It's not intended to be photorealistic. This is definitely my illustration style, and you know, I'll use a few lines just to indicate, hey, this is fur, and our brain will pick that up, you know, and recognize we've probably all seen fur look like this in like animation, at least in traditional animation, hand-drawn stuff. It gives the impression of texture. And then of course I've got these large areas of solid black shadow. These really, really help give the whole illustration some weight. And I'm using the Intuos 4 Wacom, a small pen and touch. I've had this for a few years. It is the newer model, at least newer than the one I used to have. But I also have a touch screen, so I can kind of go back and forth. And I will sometimes for curves and longer swooping lines. Sometimes just doing it right on the screen like that is faster. And then I can go in and sort of pick out little details with the Wacom. I actually like leaving some of these little bits and stuff in here. Right? And then I can switch to the fill bucket tool and fill in those big areas of black. And again, I'll use this little tooth pattern to create some dithering. Just informs the eye that this is not a solid line or a hard plane, but there's some transition there. And Mike Mignola, he does that a lot. I prefer that rather than cross-hatching. You know, I try to stay away from like cross-hatching, this kind of stuff. I don't like that. To me, that especially with this very thick sort of mono line, I just don't think that it looks very good. Cross-hatching in general seems to flatten the drawing. So I prefer just, you know, and it's still kind of use it sparingly, but I prefer this sort of just tooth-like dithering. Okay. And then these solid, large areas of shadow. Anywhere there's going to be a cast shadow, just make it solid black. And I really liked the sketch, so I'm trying to stay sort of as true to it as possible, while just kind of cleaning it up a little. Okay, and then this like leather, the top piece of this leather skirt tunic thing. All right, she's got this armband, really just decorative because she doesn't wear armor. Sort of Celtic, and that's the idea. Really the aesthetic, the sort of motif of this whole game is based in the lore of Rignar, which is a world that I created actually for a D&D campaign, a home game. I'll just use my finger for that line. It's a little bit better. And I began writing the lore for this world. The continent is called Rignar. The world is in Engelion. And it just kind of kept growing. And we played a few sessions, and it was a lot of fun. There are some themes that sort of began developing. Decay, poison, corruption, and all of their antithesis. redemption, hope, and healing, and that sort of becoming the hero's quest to cure this land. So I've been wanting to do a very simple card-based tabletop game for a long time, ever since I was a kid. I really liked the genre, but some of the games were just too complicated for me. And still, I find myself kind of gravitating more towards simple games that don't take a lot of time or reading to get into. And just something that I can jump into and really just enjoy the gameplay is what I prefer. And so I want to create a game that I would love playing, that I wish was around when I was a kid. And that's what this game is going to be. And of course, it's a creative project for me. It's all about, you know, doing these illustrations, creating all of the artwork myself, just doing everything. And so a lot of hard work that I've been putting into this. And I'm very proud of it, proud of the progress. I'm excited about it. Okay, so I'm gonna invent a new little thing. I want to create like a little strap here that maybe these beads are connected to. And one on this side as well. Again, we're in paint.net, and basically all I have is I've put in my sketch layer. If it imported that from my Google Photos account, I just took a picture from my phone because I did this, like I said, on my Galaxy Note. So it was already digital, but still a sketch, and uploaded that to my Google Photos account, and then copied it and pasted it as a layer into paint.net. And then I lowered the opacity, which is what you're seeing underneath this dark black ink, is the sketch layer from my phone originally. I just lower the opacity of that layer, and then I can draw right over it. And the reason I do this is, one, the second pass I can be a little bit more objective. I don't like losing some of the spontaneity of the sketch, so it's nice to have it there as a reference, but I can also take my time just a little bit and maybe make better decisions on, you know, where lines go, and again, mostly just to clean it up a little bit. So she's got some stuff right here. I think that I was trying to give her a scroll, but I don't think I want to do that. And I might actually change her armor here because it looks a little bit Roman with these leather straps that kind of hang down. And you can see how I'm kind of reinterpreting some of my work, redrawing it, and just using that sketch as a reference, as a guide, not tracing it exactly. So I think what I want is just this whole piece piece to be solid, and maybe tattered a little bit. Okay, so more like a skirt instead of like these leather straps that were there. I'll go ahead and put in some wrinkles and folds. Sometimes just a few little lines do the trick. Okay. And then her pants, these are interesting. I really like the design of these. She's got like, I just can't get that line. Sometimes the angle of these lines is hard to do with a tablet when I can't change the angle. It's hard to pull them. So I'll use this curve tool. It really comes in handy. There we go. Switch back to the brush. So anyway, she like these pants, almost like they're like leather, like hide, or buckskin even. And I wanted her to look maybe a little bit Native American, like she lives in the woods. It's very in tune with nature and the forest. And to be that kind of druid. But then there's also like almost like this this window. See where her skin here can breathe. All part of both the aesthetic, but again the nature of this character being very earthy and grounded and one with nature. So she'll have exposed feet, her toes here. She's not wearing solid shoes. And what she wears is very sort of organic and earthy. So I was imagining these are more like wraps than boots. It's more like fabric that's sort of just wrapped around her legs. I just put a few lines in here to indicate the folds, wrinkles. Should switch back to my screen camera. There's her toes. I'll just kind of scribble in here just a few little shadows. So I'm thinking maybe there's kind of a transition here between the wraps and maybe a piece of leather that goes over the knees. That maybe does provide some protection, but not necessarily armor. Again, because her character in the game cannot equip armor. That's looking pretty good. We'll use the curve tool again here to get this line nice and neat. The edge of her trousers here. And she's got these straps that kind of come over it like this. We have to define that a little bit better. And I'll go to my eraser and just clean that up. Might have to use a curve tool again here. Zoom out. Does that look good? I think so. Okay. Back to the brush. Let's see. Finish up this little bottom part of her fur cloak. Just like that. Very simple. Okay. For her spear here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer behind my ink, and then use the curve tool just to get this very, very straight. So much like I would be on paper, I would use a ruler for this part and just get the shape of the spear. So that I don't have some kind of like wonky like it shift or something when it goes behind her arm. I want it to look like it's a solid piece of wood. Okay, and then I just switched back to the brush tool quickly and did the rest by freehand. Right, but there's nothing wrong with using like I said, if I was on paper, I would use a ruler for that, just like I would do it if I was drawing something like the side of a building. Use a ruler, and in digital you can just drop a line like that. Okay, and then I can erase everything that's behind her because I'm on a separate layer, which I'll then merge together, right? So nice thing about Paint.net is it's very, very, very simple, but just being able to have layers gives you a lot of power. See that? So I clean that up. Now it looks like it's going behind her. Overlapping. Okay, back to my brush, and I'll get this spearhead. Even the spearhead, I wanted this to look like stone or like flint, not like metal. Nothing manufactured. So I've got these just a few little lines that kind of indicate like this stone texture, and even in the shadow, I'll go ahead and keep some of this. I'm gonna outline the shape of the shadow here and fill it in, and then I'll go back in with the eraser and pick some of it out so that you can kind of see that, you know, there is some texture in there as well. Just like that. Yeah. Do you duck? Oh, okay.
Put this here so you could flip it when you're recording so we know. And you don't just
It's looking pretty good. I'm trying to decide if I want to make that whole back of the fur cape she's wearing black, or if I do want to put some texture in there. Oh, I think I know what I'm gonna do. So on the leather armor that I did earlier, you can actually change the brush to like a dot pattern, like a screen, a dot screen. So I might use some kind of textured brush like that and actually put some of the texture in the line work, because I don't want it to just be solid black, and I don't want it to look like scribbles either. Right, so I want there to be some texture back in here. Let's go ahead and merge this down with this layer. This is the ink. Okay. Just to be safe, I'll do that on a new layer. And let's do this. So right up here, you can, let me zoom in on that for you. See where it says fill? You can change this, and you've got all these different patterns. So these dot percentages. And what I might do is do something like maybe these dashed vertical lines. Let me see what that looks like. Right. So I'm going to increase my brush size. You can use the bracket keys just like in Photoshop. Okay, that's what it's going to look like, and I just want to make my background color here completely transparent, so I'm still just painting with black. And my hope is that on the size of the card, the card's going to be, you know, very small, much smaller than this illustration. right now because I'm at 350 DPI and I'm drawing on an 8.5 by 11 canvas. So while the style of illustration is fairly simple, there's still going to be a lot of detail in the final, especially at the final size. Okay. So this is just kind of cool. I like using some of these. It's a bit like old school, sort of like newspaper, newsprint, but even I still see like this kind of stuff being used in mangas and comic books, where you just use a dot screen pattern. All right, so there's it kind of simulates a gray. And I might put some of it here too, on the top, so the top side of this fur that goes over her shoulder, just to sort of indicate that this is the same material. And I'm going to hide my sketch layer and just see how that looks. So that's kind of nice. It's still very, very clean, and I actually even like, I could go in here with the eraser and erase bits of it like that. That's kind of neat. All right, I like it, so I'm going to merge it, make this my ink. All right, and now I'm going to, let's go to the magic wand tool. The line art is done, so I'm just selecting all of everything around the character. I'll use Control-I to invert that selection, and then let me just get rid of the sketch first. There we go. I'm just going to delete that whole layer. And then Control-Shift-X is going to crop the entire canvas to my selection. And what I'm left with now is this silhouette, which is just in white, and my solid black ink. And I see a couple of places that actually also need to get deleted here. Okay, and then delete. Delete. And a little spot that needs to be filled. So I'm going to go back to solid color, go back to my 8 pixel brush. Okay. Make sure my brush size is on 8. There we go. And then swap my colors and just fill that in. Okay, there we go. Back to my magic wand tool. Make sure I have it all selected. And we'll start the coloring. The way that I do the coloring, very, very simple. If you haven't seen this before, create a new layer. I'm going to set up my shading and my highlight layers. This is going to be shading. Okay, set my blending mode to multiply. Opacity is 120. Create another layer. Double click. Call this highlight. Set my mode to screen and my opacity to 120. go back to my background layer. This is going to be the color layer, so I'll rename that color. Okay. And let's go ahead and go to the fill bucket tool and fill this in with the color. And I think I'm going to start with this kind of olive brown. And there we go. And then I'll go in and start separating all the different colors. So I just use the brush. I've got a different color selected now for the skin. And what I'll do is I'll just outline the different shapes with this color. I do this all in the same layer. No need to have multiple layers for different colors, for me anyway. I just make sure that this outline is all contiguous, or meaning there everything is touching. All of, there's no gaps in my outline, and then I can switch to the fill tool and fill it all in. And much quicker than trying to paint it all in. Sometimes, as you can see, like this, I'll go ahead and just get these little edges here. I'll zoom in, and then I can fine tune it a little bit. But this coloring process is very straightforward and ends up being very, very quick for me. And it's very clean, and I don't need a lot of features. I don't need a lot of brushes. I'm using all the same brush here, this 8-pixel brush, and then just switching to the fill bucket. And I'll just do like all of the same color, any surface or material or object that I can get away with making the same color. I will try to do that. So very limited color palette, keep things very, very simple, and use a lot of constraint, and that actually helps all of these illustrations, because there's going to be dozens and dozens of illustrations for this card game. And one of the challenges is just to make them feel like they were all done at the same time. And so hit K on the keyboard to grab a color, and then I can go in and make any corrections like this. Very quick. All right. As I was saying, I want them to all feel like they were made at the same time and are in the same environment. All right. So we need our toes here. can see, as long as I go out of the edge while this selection is still active, I can just make one line to kind of separate these colors, and then go to the fill tool and fill it in. Okay. Let's see her torso here. I just kind of follow along the black outlines that I've made on the ink layer. Really use those to help me hide the seams between colors. Okay, a lot of this is going to be leather or hide. The fur, I think I want to make that maybe gray. Let's do, I like this, I like there to be sort of a difference between like the tanned hide and like leather straps and stuff, so like just more red color for this kind of stuff in here. And she's gonna have a pretty monotone color palette. A lot of earthy browns. I'll use maybe some brighter colors for like the beads and the decorative elements, but I didn't want her to have a lot of metal. And just everything, I wanted it to all feel very nature oriented and organic. Maybe this will be a leather strap here. This will be like a transition. And then those wraps actually are just covering her calves. Yeah. And then this is leather. Okay, just like that. Go ahead and color in her eye. I don't do pure white for the eyes. I use like a gray, and then just for the shine off of the pupil, I'll make that white. Let's see, her bottom lip here, her top lip's completely in shadow. I'll just make that a little pink. I don't want it to look like she's wearing a lot of makeup. That'll just make her bottom lip a little pink. Okay. All right, so all this cloth here, let's get a good color for that. I think maybe I'll mix a new color. I want it to be sort of like yeah, that's pretty good. Like a linen or wool, some just kind of sturdy, non dyed fabric. Like that. And I think that maybe underneath here, maybe there's a layer underneath her hide shirt of that wool or linen, something that's maybe a little bit more comfortable. And that's what's kind of being folded over here at the top. Okay, like that. Let's see. I need Need a little bit more. Just go ahead and outline the whole thing. There we go. All right, then she's gonna have dark hair. We'll get this dark brown. Switch back to the brush tool. See, I got just a little bit of her chin there, but that's okay. I can always zoom in real close. K on the keyboard, grab that skin color, paint it back in, job done. Grab her hair color again. She's got a few dreads here. F on the keyboard, the fill bucket tool, fill it right in. Hey future pair, how's it going? Thanks for watching. All right, so for these beads, I'm thinking something that's like bright, like a turquoise. Like maybe like this, but I'm gonna make it maybe just a little bit darker. Yeah, that's gonna look good. It almost makes the hide color look gold because it's just so bright. Yeah, it's nice. So I like giving my characters kind of a color scheme and a design to them. Even the Druid, who is all nature oriented. Also has this kind of like what is that, topaz or there's a kind of stone that's really abundant, and it's been used for like a lot of Native American jewelry. All right, so I am giving her just a little bit of gold. Okay. Her belt here. See, I do these kind of in sections, and I can fill them in, and kind of helps me one, feel like I'm making progress quickly, and also you know, kind of see like, is that a good choice, right? I'm gonna go ahead and save it. I think that's all the gold. Yeah, that's it. All right, so I want to dark gray for this spearhead. I just need one line to separate those colors. F on the keyboard to fill it in. Done. And I think I might use a lighter gray for this fur. So there's not so many browns, right? That's going to include this little piece she's got on her arm. I want that to be fur, and maybe this is like a gray wolf fur, because that'd be kind of neat. Not that she killed a wolf, but because like some of her abilities, like the wild call, where essentially she calls animals to fight for her, almost like as a familiar, something that she cares about. And maybe it's a wolf that she grew up with and is now wearing some of the fur as a memento, as a token, as a way to honor the animal. I don't know, just some of the stuff that kind of goes through my mind when designing characters like this. I want everything that they're using, everything that they have equipped, to have a meaning. And we're going to finish this up. Thank you guys for watching. Bye for now.